Well, as you know, the Femtors and the Femties is our platform where we have women who are saying, I want to mentor young girls. So it's a platform where we have women who mentor young girls. We call them our femtos, a female mentor, and our femtees, which is our female mentees. So that's really our platform. And every month we get together and we empower each other and we see how we can strengthen our sisterhood, and we ensure that we grow from strength to strength. So I see a few of you have started joining, so I'm not going to delay any further, and I am going to introduce you to our speaker tonight. Please do feel free to engage, ask questions. I'll be looking at your comments in the comment section, and if time allowing, by God's grace, we'll also answer some of the questions that you have. So without any delays, my guest for today is Pastor Joy Mogale. I'm not going to give a very long introduction, just a short introduction, and then I will give her an opportunity to introduce herself, and then we'll go into today's discussion. So Pastor Ps Joy Mogale is, like I said, a powerhouse. She has extensive knowledge and experience in the human resources and organizational behavior field. Something as well we have in common. She was in the field for 13 years. She's got 13 years experience in the corporate sector. You know that that's my background as well. Exactly, also 13 years in the corporate sector before I came into full-time ministry and everything else that I am doing. Pastor Joy's passion is empowering and developing leaders to excel in impacting people, organizations, as well as nations. She's the CEO of Elect Couture Boutique, Pty Ltd. So I'm giving you the plug there as well. We've got a CEO in the house. And we're going to talk about something very, very interesting that happened over the weekend. She launched her book, her memoir, which is called Undistracted. It's very interesting. It's very exciting. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Something I love also about Pastor Joy, she's like a fundi, just like me. I think on another level, though, she's a dean of of a Bible college, Grace Bible College. She's the founder of Expression Kingdom Business School, Blooming Blossoms and Brave Boys and Girls. And she is also the founder of Favored Wife, which focuses on restoration of marriages. This is actually how we met. Interestingly enough, I saw a post on her social media page about Favored Wives, and it had a WhatsApp link there. And I said, I need to be part of this. And that's how I came into contact with her. And the rest is history. So together, she and her husband, Pastor Wanka Mogale, they are senior pastors at Grace Kingdom Community Center, which is based in Garankuwa. A real powerhouse, I must say. They are a power couple. So they enjoy traveling together. And she'll also just talk a little bit about her family. She's got 2 adult children. And I'm just going to leave it there and say, good evening, Pastor Joy. Welcome to the Sister K Foundation, Femtors and Femtees platform.
Thank you so much, Pastor Keletso. Thank you for your invitation. And I just want to say good evening to everyone that is watching, and just want to encourage everyone that they should share this live stream so that we can reach out to many people.
Thank you so much, Pastor Joy. I should be thanking you for availing yourself for this session. And I know you're a very busy woman. I'm actually going to get into that discussion about undistracted, because it is something that is so exciting. As an author, I love seeing other authors arise as well. So I know, Pastor Joy, you had a fantastic, fabulous launch this past weekend of your book, Undistracted. Can you perhaps tell us a little bit about that? And I guess my question is also twofold. I know I've read your profile, but I know your book is also your memoir. So I think it's a good way of actually just getting to know a little bit more about you.
Thank you, Pastor K. Basically, I'm just a Jesus girl who is inspired by getting other people unstuck and just propelling them to soar to higher heights. My motto in life is just relevance and impact. If I can be relevant to my generation and leave an impact, I would have done everything God has created for me to do here on earth. And of all the programs, or most of the programs that I facilitate, as long as they reflect these three principles:
Good evening, everyone.
righteousness, purity, and holiness. Any developmental program that I facilitate has to highlight those things, because as a Jesus girl, I have to help show people to the right path so that they can continue to serve the Lord in their God-given assignments. So that's just basically me briefly. And about the book, it was such an exciting and beautiful moment. It was, so nice and bright. I was working like an author, born with a red dress, and I'm like, yeah, is this me, a whole author? And girls like supporting each other. So we had close to maybe 140 people, and they all bought books. My parents were there to support me. And some of the things, obviously, as I was giving some highlights of what the book was all about, they were hearing about them for the first time. So Undistracted is a memoir about my life. I'm gleaning from the wrong choices that I made as a young adult, wrong choices that even led to me having a child out of wedlock because I had fallen for the wrong guy. And also, when you look at my life, when I was still a little girl, primary going school age, I experienced issues like tribalism, colorism, and later on, when I went to university, I experienced racism. So issues like those can really, they can derail you. If you were walking in confidence before and you hear the children you're playing with making your people a comedy material to others, like some things that my friend would say is that this black thing that looks like a shangan. So it made me so self-conscious. But what I love about my parents is that they taught us, they instilled confidence in who we were, not to be ashamed to embrace our authenticity as Batsonga Shangan speaking people. So this book gleans from that, and also how I got to hear the voice of God later on, the discrimination that I experienced in the corporate sector. There's a chapter that talks about falling for the right guy as well. Promotion comes from God. God has a plan. In God has a plan, I experienced a situation where I felt like all the corporate doors of opportunities were closing right in front of my face. And alone in my office, I found myself crying. And suddenly I realized that I had put my trust in men. I had put my faith in men until God spoke to me and made me see that the cry I was crying was so irrelevant. I had to humbly and quickly repent and say, Lord, I'm sorry. I'd put my trust in the world system. I'd put my trust in knowing somebody who's able to do, things or make things happen for me. And that very night, the Lord told me it is finished. And that was my era before I went to the DTI as a chief director. So this book also covers, you'd be interested, Pastor K, chapter 12 covers, chapter 10 covers mentoring.
Yeah.
This is a journey of me as a mentor, and I'm also paying tribute to my mentor. Then I've got my mentees as well, because via the mentoring program called G12, I've learned some very, very interesting principles. And we as mentees were also encouraged to bring other women up to where we are so that they can experience this level of greatness. And part of chapter 10 as well is the testimonials from all three of my mentees. When I mentored them, they were still at university. So I've asked them 14 years later, where are they? So it's such a nice read. Everything has come full circle. And I've seen some of your questions that are related to mentoring earlier on. So I thought, okay, I'm looking forward to learning so much about what you do as well.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you so much for that, Pastor Joy. And as you're talking about mentoring, I'm just also thinking, that the fact that you were able to be vulnerable and authentic and put your story out there in a book, it's also saying, even for someone who might never get to meet Pastor Joy in person and have the opportunity to sit one-on-one as a mentor, have that engagement, by you just putting your story down and writing it, if somebody picks up that book, they're already part of your journey, they are already part of your experiences and part of your learnings, and they never have to go through the same struggles and make the same mistakes that you did as well, which is something that I so absolutely love about that mentoring relationship, to say, has been my journey, this is where I made mistakes, you don't have to make the same mistakes, so you are starting off from a position of advantage so that you can advance even more. I just absolutely love that. And just to welcome some of the ladies that are still joining in. We welcome you, Mpo. We see you joining all the way from Qwaqwa, Putadichava. I hope you guys know where that is. It's in the Eastern Free State, right? And it just happens to be where I was born. And we also see you, Ausmantani Godisang, all the way joining from Bethlehem, which is also in the Free State. And as I continue with you, Pastor Joy, ladies, please also remember, feel free to ask Pastor Joy any questions that you might have, and we will prioritize to make sure that we answer some of your questions. Pastor Joy, sisterhood, you've also even included it a little bit in your introduction when you're talking about your book launch and how women just came up and to support you and your family and so on, which is taking me to the topic of sisterhood. And why is sisterhood important? I was reminding you earlier on, I didn't know if you still remember that earlier on this year, you made a WhatsApp clip, a recording, and you were talking about the importance of sisterhood. And what you were talking about resonated with me so much. I was like, I need to talk to Pastor Joy because she's articulating this whole issue of sisterhood so well. And I need people to hear her views and her feelings about it, which I absolutely share your sentiments when it comes to sisterhood. So just tell us, sisterhood, is it really important? Or, some people think, women are just extra, they just want an excuse to meet, or they just want to be women, and we don't see why it's so important for them to come together and do whatever. They don't even know even some women, when you're talking about sisterhood, they're not really sure what you're talking about. So what is it, and why is it so important as a woman, young or old, to belong to some form of a sisterhood?
Thank you so much, Pastor K, and thank you for referring back to the audio that I sent to Favored Wives. For me, the issue of sisterhood is very necessary, and I see sisterhood as a friendship that has grown organically and graduated, because friendship is that pioneering, it's like more like an entry level, so it's built on friendship. I see sisterhood as the ability to step into another person's shoes, just to be there when you're needed, to listen, to show empathy, to hug, to laugh, to cry, and sometimes just get crazy together. And that is best when it's reciprocated, so that it is not one-sided. So I see it more like a transaction. It has got to be a two-way street. Sisterhood, therefore, I think is very, very necessary. by nature, when God created us, he said it is not good for men to be alone. It was not just, limited to marriage. God created us for fellowship. He created us for fellowship. He created us for company. So as a woman, I need to be surrounded by people who get me.
Yeah.
In this way, I believe that there is a healthy level of acceptance of strengths and developmental areas, because when you are in a sisterhood, people learn to help you to leverage on your strengths while they help you to, to pay attention even to areas, like your blind spots. I call them developmental areas. And sisterhood is not about highlighting each other's weaknesses, but more about helping us to leverage on our strengths until our weaknesses are lessened. And I have all sorts of sisters myself personally. I know who to go to for help, and I know who not to go to based on how I feel and the matter at hand. Because some people can only give you a Bible verse, and some people know when it is time to hug you. So I just don't want people who are going to be just super spiritual. I want people who will be relevant based on what I am going through at the certain time. I mention this because as human beings, we have different graces. So everyone has a threshold. Our relationships have a threshold. So you have to know who to go to. Sometimes you tell somebody, that I'm Nyagoisha, and they don't get you. They don't feel you. I'm like, why did I waste my time? I wish I could have gone to Minister Shelley, for example, or maybe Pastor K understands exactly what I'm going through. So someone needs to have a deeper discerning so that they know how to be there for you. So that relevance as well of knowing who to go to when you are actually appreciating their different graces and tapping into them whenever they are needed.
I like that. I like how you articulate well the importance of relevance and being in community with people who can relate with what you are going through. And this is highlighting that you're really not too much. No matter how many sisters you have or how many platforms of women you belong to, because you have different specialized needs. So if you are a student, you can be in a sisterhood where you guys encourage in each other in your academia. Women who are in business can do the same. Married women, like we are part of Favored Wives, they can also have something similar in place. Single women, because as a single woman or a married woman, as a woman generally or a girl, there are just so many different facets of your life. And like you are saying, it's not usual that you will get everything that you need from one particular person or from one group. So I really like that. You are not too much, ladies. Don't worry if you have lots of sisters or if you maybe belong to different sisterhoods, but the issue, like Pastor Joy was saying, that it should be mutually beneficial. So we shouldn't do it for the sake of doing it, but we should know exactly what you are in it for, and it will and it should add some value in your life that you should be able to pinpoint. Now, Pastor Joy, you mentioned it a little bit. You went into the biblical view and how God created us relationally. You see, this is why I love talking to people who speak my same language. You've already alluded to that a little bit, but is there perhaps some specific biblical examples of, maybe women in the Bible who sort of displayed sort of like a sisterhood, sisterly type of relationship that you can maybe give someone as an example? Because, Christians sometimes they think about such concepts as things of the world. They'll be like, you guys are just bringing things of the world into the church. So from a biblical point of view, are there any examples of women who were sisters, who were in a sisterhood of some form?
Yes, I think it's very important to keep on clarifying that sisterhood is not a worldly concept. I think
Yeah.
from a glance, I think of Mary and Elizabeth. But they found themselves both, in scandalous circumstances. The other one was pregnant by the Holy Spirit. The other one was much, much older. So they had to find themselves hiding from society, hiding from being judged, and stuff like that. So I think because they were both pregnant, they had to, they knew what they were going through hormonally. They knew what they had to, to stomach, especially the, people talking about your Musadi also fitting. So, Bona, this girl, young as she is, she says she's a virgin, but she's pregnant. So for me, that's from a glance. But what I wanted to highlight also in the book of Numbers is the daughters of Zelophehad, daughters of Zelophehad. Their father did not have a son, and usually when a father dies, the inheritance would have to go to the son. But in this case, in the days of Moses, they were overlooked until they joined this bond. They together formed this strong bond in presenting their claim to their leader about their father's inheritance. So I think for me, they are such an inspiration. They are called the daughters of Zelophehad. I've not preached about it, but every time I read about them, I'm thinking, there you go. We are there in the Bible. So we are not just expected to be cooking and doing, other stuff. We cannot be boxed. We want to be there in economic matters. We want to be the one who's talking about inheritance. We want to be there when we're just talking about big businesses. So these girls really stand out for me.
I love that example that you used in Numbers, and it's actually one of my favorite pieces of scripture, because we live in, we know the issue of land is such a is such a topical issue where we are now as South Africans. And I always say the first people to fight for and get their land were women. Because the law at that time was that women could not inherit the land of their fathers, and the women came together. And it's such a beautiful example of what women can accomplish when they come together. That is such a brilliant example that I think we don't even talk enough about. Even when we're talking, in South Africa, when we celebrating Women's Day and we're talking about the women of 1956, I think these are really the stories that we should really start talking more about and bringing to light. But I also like the example of Mary and Elizabeth that you just spoke about, because it's one of those generational, if I can call them, type of sisterhood, which is what our Femtors and Femtees concept of philosophy is about, to say older women, you are already into the journey, or you've already finished the journey of something that a younger woman is going through. Like in the example of Mary and Elizabeth, Elizabeth was already ahead in her pregnancy, sort of 6 months ahead, if my theology is correct, when Mary came. So, she's sharing, so she would have spoken about morning sickness and whatever, and she would say, no, you should expect that should come, and there are different circumstances. So in this case, then my question to someone would be, because when we're talking about sisterhood, some girls think that it's so when we're talking about sisterhood, is it just for adult, matured women, or is it something that girls should invest in creating and ensuring that they belong to? And is there value for them as well? And should we always keep them separate, or is there also value, like in the example that you alluded to, of really bringing the different generations together into one platform?
All right. I think the key word that you mentioned earlier on is generational. So basically, it cuts across all ages. So there might be just slight differences in terms of the pertinent social issues that are relevant to the very vision, that brought them together. For example, young girls can form sisterhood around, when I was at primary school, we used to form part of Migodisano. So every Friday, I know that Kia Kgodiswa, and then next week, Monday, it would be somebody else. And children at that age, one of the most common things they may be experiencing is the issue of bullying and also the issues of puberty. These days we have girls studying their menses as early as 9 years or 10 years. So there is something of commonality that can bring them together. You see, they're very forward. They love fashion. There's issues of technology and stuff like that. At the same time, when we find ourselves at a certain level of maturity, we want to discuss issues like, do you have a will in place? Like September is a month where we are focusing on, writing wills in South Africa, and consultation is free. So as the older sisters, we can, because there's death is part of life. We can encourage ourselves on issues of, financial stewardship. Such stokvels now, like social clubs where we can empower each other, like what you're doing now with the Sister K Foundation, or with Femtors and Femtors. I just love that concept. So, the sisterhood can be separated by age, but there comes a time as well when it can be intergenerational, so that we can learn from the younger generation and they can also learn from us, like you mentioned with Mary and Elizabeth.
Yeah, no, that is absolutely true. Thank you for that, Pastor Joy. And I hope that some of the younger ladies who are tuning in and those who will also listen in later on will really hear that. And if you do not have a platform where you are supported, encouraged, that it should really be something that you look into. So yes, I'm just looking at the ladies that are with us as well. Khutato, we see you from Randburg. I know she's joining all the way from Botswana, and Sis Jabulile from Bloemfontein. Welcome, ladies. Particularly, I know she's very passionate about mental health. So it's a very good cue to my next question for you, Pastor Joy. When I was listening to that voice note that you sent, you highlighted something that is very important, that relates to the importance of belonging to sisterhood, in that it should be a platform where women are able to open up about their mental health, a safe platform, a safe space where you can really, when we get together, it's not just the on the surface, how are you, and I am fine, and we're just talking, like wonderful things and achievements and how to make money and all those good things, but we like, what's your mental health status? What's the importance of that in a sisterhood?
I think for me, it's very important. Part of the book, Undistracted, also address issues where I had challenges in the home front. I found myself carrying, heavy stuff that weighed me down. That was supposed to be just a deal between my mother and my father. So when I went from high school to university, I found myself sharing medication with my grandmother, because when I observe, I find that my family is predisposed to stress. So this medication was called specific nerve pain remedy. And because of the pain I had, I don't even know, I never knew at that stage that what I was dealing with was, mental health issues or depression. I had to numb whatever pain I was feeling with smoking and drinking and groove. You understand? Sure. It's only now when I was writing that I got to relive those moments to say, I was really broken. And my parents didn't know about it, because in our cultures, there are no platforms created for grief. There are no platforms created to say, Mom and Dad, can we talk, I see on TikTok, parents, especially mothers, are highlighted as bad people. You understand? So we can be laughing, but the reality of the matter is these children really highlight what is happening in the home front. And then coming back to 2022, beginning of the year, we were fasting as a church. I found myself feeling very sad, these deep feelings of sadness. And, it felt like something bad is going to happen. I had no idea what was happening. I found myself, not being able to sleep well at night, loss of appetite. I had to wait for my therapist to come back after she had taken 3 months leave. And when I spoke to her, she just said to me, Pastor Joy, you are depressed. You are experiencing burnout. And I realized, okay, this is what it is, So it means 2018 I had depression, and now I find myself, after we have gone through a pandemic, because we found ourselves in unprecedented times. Everything that was happening around us was unexpected. So I found myself having to be on medication for anxiety and medication that would help me to sleep. It took a while. I'm still on the medication. When we had our ladies camp, annual camp in March, I found myself just dragging myself to go there. And I never even once went to the dining hall because I had the social anxiety. I did not feel I had the energy, to take care of my guests as a host, or, daughters of God that I'm hosting. They had to bring me food, but I was just, trying to nibble. I had no appetite, and I was just looking forward to Monday the 7th, when I would go to a clinic. These days you can choose whether you want to go for 21 days, but they say it's cheaper when you go to these intensive 5-day programs. So I had to find myself going to that session like I was a university student, and I realized this is necessary. As a pastor, other people would not even dare tell people this is what I'm going through. There's a man in the Bible, Jesus said, give me your arm or show me your arm. He gave him, Jesus was looking for the withered arm, but we as Christians would rather show you the good side of us. We know how to mask it, everything, and with our lashes these days, and we look good and say, glam me up, but deep down we are bleeding, deep down we are dying. So I learned how to pause. I was taught principles like you need to know how to set boundaries, because I remember the psychologist telling me that after she conducted a test, and she told me that you take on too much. People in your line of duty, like pastors and leaders in ministries, they suffer from what they call compassion fatigue. And then I started to draw back and say, okay, fine, not everything needs me. Things can go on without me, because I had even started to delegate from beginning of the year. So even now, when you were asking, are you resting? I've learned to be intentional about my rest. I've started reading books, because when I found myself in the space I was in, I could not even concentrate. I could not even read the Bible. My focus was just at the lowest. And when you speak to people about this, it's like, Pastor Joy is so bold. I remember I was invited to preach in June at one church, and I did an altar call like, is there everyone who's identifying with everything that you're hearing me say? No, and the pastor's wives were sitting there by the right-hand side looking so posh. Then I started to get down to the matter and say, you trying to read, you don't understand what the Bible's saying. You try to pray, you don't even know what to pray. And then one by one, they started to stand up. So I chose to be a pioneer and a groundbreaker, to say, I'd rather be an advocate for mental health, so that as a church leader, people can identify with me, so that they are not afraid anymore, because there is no stigma. So we must take the stigma away and call a spade, so that we can get help. So that was my journey.
And silence and secrecy is what perpetuates the cycle of things being stigmatized. And I must really commend you for your authenticity and being able to open up. I think it's the same thing that I experience with myself being a pastor as well. Once I start opening up, perhaps maybe about the challenges with my fertility journey or whatever challenges I'm having, people tend to like be shocked, Kuti. But you are a pastor, you're a woman of God,
Yeah.
How can you be struggling? And I think it's important that we really do say, just because you are, it doesn't mean you are exempt. And when we as leaders start doing that, then we are also encouraging our members, because they can see, oh, okay, I'm normal. Because sometimes Christians feel like they are not spiritual enough, or they don't have enough faith if they are having challenges, and they admit that they are having challenges. And that's what we are saying. It's okay to have challenges, but even as a Christian, to say, I know that my help will come from the Lord, and help will come once I acknowledge that I have a challenge, once I put up my hand and I say, I need help. And that's really what also sisterhood is about, because it's about coming into that safe space where you are able to say, you know what, ladies, I'm going through this and I'm really not okay. And then you get the opportunity to hear Pastor Joy's voice, who says, Bona, I was in the same situation and this is how I dealt with it. And you leave there empowered, knowing that, you're not alone. You are not alone. I always say life is tough, but nobody has to go through life alone.
Exactly.
Everybody must have people around them to help them go through the tough season. So there's a question here, Pastor Zoe, that's related to just what you just mentioned regarding the 5-day program that you were referring to. Also, Wahumuta is saying she is not aware that they have something like that in Botswana, and she would just like to have more information about that, because it sounds like something that is much needed. So is there more sort of more detail or a point of reference where you can send her for more information about that intensive 5-day program?
Yes, I think I was booked under Dr. Alicia Potter, and she works at that center. The center has social workers, psychologists, they have also occupational therapists, dietitians as well, and clinical psychologists. So they're using what they call the dialectical behavioral therapy. And to make this so interesting, there was a lady, a 65-year-old lady from Botswana, who came, and she booked herself there for 5 days, and she was actually commending us, the younger ones. So I felt much younger, like, okay, I qualify. And she said, at least you guys are dealing with these challenges, young as you are. Look at me. But I commended her for having started. So I'll hook her up with the office numbers for Dr. Potter.
Okay, thank you for that. So I will share those details with you, Assis Wahomoza. Thank you for that question. And Omar, good evening. We see you. And then just to continue, sure, time is flying by so quickly. Yeah, a lot of time flies when you are having fun. So still perhaps a little bit on that mental health issue. Some people, when you say sisterhood, they either think it's a bunch of angry women coming together, or a bunch of broken women coming to cry together. They think it's a crying club where we just come to complain about how miserable we are, and we go back home even more miserable, because now everyone has just loaded their misery, or like the people who say misery loves company, and they think that's what sisterhood is about. Can you maybe shed some light on that and enlighten us on some other activities that women can engage in when they belong to a sisterhood?
Thank you, Pastor K. The Bible says there is time for everything There's time to cry, there's time to dance. So in sisterhood, everyone is accommodated, but not everyone cries every time. The strength of sisterhood is the kaleidoscope of personalities, the strengths, the graces, the loves, and issues of commonality. So some of the things, like you asked about activities that can be looked at, is personal development. We can travel together locally, abroad, to be in book clubs, because reading is just the thing that strengthens our brain muscles and stuff. We can have cook-offs to say, okay, when I'm Mopedi, Mina I'm Mutsonga, someone is Zulu. Can we just arrange for a cook-off session where, like you do with the Discovery Lifestyle, centers and stuff like that? So I see it more as a place of empowerment. We can have our own seminars that we develop to impact communities, because all of us, maybe you could be a professional or you have a certain common grace, and then we can use it also as a platform to transact with these skills to empower each other. I really love financial stewardship. Even when I was back in Meadowlands, I would invite my friends, someone who's a stockbroker, and say, please come to Meadowlands. I've got a group of like 10 ladies. Come talk to us about money matters, and most importantly, Bible study.
Yeah.
Very, very important, because we are in the last days. So that factor, for me, we shouldn't ignore it, because everything has to be centered around what is the Lord saying. He has brought me here on earth for something. And you may find that your answer is found in one of those ladies. So we have to learn to tap into each other's talents, skills, and callings. And then 5 years down the line, you look at, I was happy to be part of, Sister K Foundation. And you can list all the things that you have learned. And guess what? After being impacted in this sisterhood, definitely the wealth comes in when I transfer it to other people and bring them up here to a place of destiny, a place of greatness.
I love that. I mean, it's so diverse, the kind of things that we can do together as women. And there are not just, yes, entertainment is important, holidaying and relaxing, but also empowering as well. I mean, you're mentioning a cook-off. It's nice, you get to eat different food, but it's also sure, wow, Pastor Joy, this dish looks delicious. How did you make it?
Yes.
And you also learn. So there's always a skills, interchanging of skills, and we all come together. Like you're saying, we have different backgrounds in terms of education. We have different backgrounds in terms of careers. Some are in business, and when we all come together and share our expertise, we can only come out better. You get exposure to things that you would have and otherwise never been exposed to. So it's really, really powerful when women come together. Now, in our context, specifically with the Femtors and the Femties, as you know, it's the older women mentoring the young girls. How would you say then that sisterhood sort of relates or intersects with mentorship? So sisterhood and mentorship.
I think I also like the idea of the younger generation learning from the elderly, because we're talking about women predominantly. So, the advantage is that we have a commonality of gender, and then we understand what we are going through. Thirdly, we are big on emotions. There's no way that I can feel, this thing is weighing up on me. I'll always tell somebody, be it over tea or whether we're going to the bathroom, by the time you come out of the bathroom, you'd have shed the load off. And as an older mentor, I glean also, from my own experiences. I don't want to see mentoring as only, a relationship that is one directional. Mentors also get to learn from mentees. So there's always this, exchange, these transactions that must go on, consistently or regularly. So both parties get to grow at the same level.
Yeah.
Absolutely true. I like that, because I always say, some of the things that keep me young is being around young people. And it is what keeps me young. I love young people. I love being around young people, and it keeps me young. But even though sometimes they say, you're no longer young, you are the young at heart, but young is there and I'm young. As long as I say I'm young, I'm young. But what you are saying is so true, Pastor Joy, that people would be almost shocked at how much they can learn from the young people, how much you can learn from the younger generation. Because when we talk about mentoring, it's sometimes people, like you were saying, they're always thinking it's one directional, but it's actually not. So even when we encourage women to say, hey, come and mentor young people, we shouldn't go into it thinking it's just you giving of yourself, but it's that. And I also believe that as a mentor, when you actually do mentor, there is so much more benefit to it. You get to develop your communication skills. You get to develop your listening skills. There is so much benefit in mentoring, because as you do it, your skills are also enhanced. So it's definitely a two-way street, and it is so important. And as you are mentioning the get together, I'm getting excited about our vision, because nowadays everything is so online. So our femtos and our femties, I mean, even as I'm reading out where people are joining from, it's always online because people are in different places. But one day I have this vision of all of us just coming together for a camp or a conference or something, just being in one space where we can actually physically meet. I think that will just be exciting. And Sis Wakhumuta says that they are planning a trip to South Africa as women to continue their healing journey, and that it would be great to meet with women in SA to talk about mental health. Absolutely, Wakhumuta, when you guys come, just talk to us. If you're coming to Cape Town, yay! If you're in Joburg, Pastor Joy Bateng, I am sure we will be able to put you in touch with a phenomenal woman who will be more than happy to assist you guys and spend some time with you while you enjoy our beautiful SA. And they also get to learn about Botswana a little bit more as well. So now, Pastor Joy, values, I think when you're mentioning the kind of activities that women can engage in when they're in sisterhood, you said first and foremost, Bible study. That's talking about spirituality, which made me think about values. In a sisterhood, I believe that we should be anchored by values that we all share. I mean, if we don't share the same values, then it's not going to help. There's going to be tension. There might even be, separation at some point, because as an example, if you don't value confidentiality, and I regard sisterhood as a safe space where I'm able to come and be vulnerable, and you go and post about my business after every engagement, then it's not going to work. So values becomes a very important thing, because it's the guiding principle behind how we engage. As the Sister K Foundation, we use the acronym SISTER to spell out what our values are, that we will be sincere with each other. We what we say is what we mean. We don't pretend. That we will be inspiring as well. Like you were saying, as in a sisterhood, we love one another, we accept one another, but we always push each other to fulfill our full potential. And it's also about servanthood, serving. That's what a sisterhood is about. I use my gift, and we serve our generation within the sisterhood, and obviously in the community or the society which we are in, because I believe we cannot talk about the importance of being in a sisterhood and empowering one another and it's just for us. No,
Yeah.
it's for us. Okay, so we are empowered, but when we get into our communities, then what is the benefit of that empowerment to our communities? So serving for me is one of the most important anchoring values in a sisterhood. Gratitude as well, empowerment, like I've mentioned, and respect, mutual respect, that acceptance of each other and treating each other with respect. So from your point of view, on what would you say are some of the key values, other values that must be upheld or must be embraced in a sisterhood in order for a sisterhood to be what it should be?
Thank you. I looked at these values, even as you were mentioning them. I'm thinking they are so beautiful, all of them. You have broken them down, just to give meaning. I'll just focus on three. Caring is very important. When you care for somebody, you understand their humanity. When you care for somebody, you don't have to have gone through what they have or they are going through, just by you understanding that this person is not in a good space or something like that, and you just show how much you care. You may be there. These days our children have taught us that, Mama, when I tell you something, I don't want advice, I'm just venting. To be caring enough to give someone space to say what they say. And the second one is boldness to call them out if they have derailed. To say, I love you that much. I'm not going to allow myself watch you off ramp. Come back to this narrow and straight. Because if we don't do that, you have to be your sister's keeper. That's why sisterhood is so important. So it's giving me the courage, the boldness to say, wafapoha, come back here. And the last one for me would be authenticity.
Yes.
Let us be authentic. Let's not just show face and you grinning here and then when I turn back you're something else. So that chameleon effect is not needed. It will kill the sisterhood. But if we are authentic enough, I'm able to even embrace the diversity within the sisterhood.
Yeah. No, that is very, very important. I think the one that you started with, caring, it's a very important one, because if you don't care about something or you don't care about someone, you're not going to show up, you're not going to give it your best. So it's really one of the most important thing, because when you care, you participate, and that's how you even develop even passion for that thing. And those are some of the really key ingredients to having an effective sisterhood. It's just been such an amazing chat with you, Pastor Joy. And maybe just in closing, I'll give you an opportunity for you to give me your final thoughts, but maybe a little bit more about your book as well, Undistracted. You mentioned such an array of different issues that I believe that some people who are listening now and those who listen even later on can relate to, and they are saying, I want this book. How can I get this book? Where do I get this book?
Excuse me. You can order by telephone. I can also, because the people are here in your forum, give them my numbers. I have created a pay fast link. I also have a website. It's got a link as well where they can order. And I've got a link tree. It's like a one-stop shop. When you click that link, it takes you to my podcast. It takes you to the website. It takes you to you ordering the book, and also via WhatsApp, they can order the book.
Awesome. I'll share the details with you later on, even on this feed in the comment section. So please be on the lookout for that. So just in closing, Pastor Joy, with everything that we have spoken about in terms of sisterhood, the importance of sisterhood, what it is, how important it is for the young as well as the matured women and everything, what would be your last thoughts that you maybe perhaps would want to share with everyone that is listening and those who will also tune in later?
I think for me, there's still an elephant in the room that we are not addressing generally as South Africa or as the world. And that elephant in the room is called the pandemic, the COVID pandemic. It had such ravaging effects on our social lives. And suddenly we are moving. It's almost, 2023. So for me, I think platforms like Sister K Foundation, these kind of initiatives between mentors and mentees give us such a platform to go back and have these dialogues around what took place, how did it affect you, because it seems as if the world came to a standstill. And you may find that as leaders, we want to continue, but it's very important that we also go back to what happened during that time, where your hopes, were you discouraged somehow? Have you lost hope? I felt very, very lonely, for example. But here you are now, with such initiatives as you running a Sister K Foundation with mentorship programs, your personal development program. So as far as just realigning people to where they want to go, I think we still must have those conversations, because it's something at the back of our mind. We still have those fears that we need to deal with, so that when the right time comes and we are beat with another plague or another pandemic, how ready are we to deal with it? What will we say to our children 15 years later, 20 years later, who did not even experience that? So we need to bring everything with us. So I think through such platforms, we can get people talking around the table. And there's quite a lot of issues that we've dealt with. I just want to encourage everyone that is connected that there is value in mentorship programs. There is wealth in mentorship programs. The minute you decide and you are intentional on developing your skills as a person, just know that personal development is not something that you can delegate. It needs you 100%. You have to learn to set appointments with yourself. You have to guard your space. You have to start setting boundaries just to focus on you, because some people are afraid of setting goals. And I've seen that you've been advertising that mentorship program. I think it started sometime in August. So for those who have not yet registered, I'd love for them to start registering, even if they're late. Even if you say it's a 12-month program, it's never too late to start now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yes, because in the book, I've also shared about mentoring and what you are doing. It's something that we can complement each other. We've got so much in common, and you can clearly see that there's so much work to do. So I'd like to encourage everyone to register on your program, because that's how we create wealth. Wealth is not only limited to finances, but just submitting under somebody's tutelage and say, I want to walk with you. And 5 years down the line, you look at, wow, I did not waste my time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow, no, thank you so much for that, Pastor Joy. I think what you are saying is important. And someone was asking here, how do I become a part of this platform? It is so powerful. I'll share my website as well, but you can visit my website, sisterkyende.org. sisterkyende.org, and it will give you more information about all that we do and the different programs that we offer. And just on that note, also to encourage some of you ladies who might have been tuning in for the first time, seeing what we do here at the Sister K Foundation, to say, perhaps also go to the website and sign up for that mentorship program, whether as a mentee or as a mentor, or femtee and femtor as we call it, because it's for women, primarily for women and for girls, and volunteer. I mean, we provide, some women say, yeah, I'm matured, I've gone through a lot, I've achieved in my career and my family, but mentoring, I don't know how to mentor. We offer you that support as you forge your relationship with your femtie. When you have challenges and you're not sure what to do, how to engage, we provide you with all the necessary support to ensure that you give your femtie the best of yourself. So please do visit sisterkended.org and sign up for our program. We will also, towards the end of the year, be putting it out on social media, because we like to start the relationship at the beginning of the year and go through a somewhat structured program, and so that your engagements with them are also structured, so that you are able to look back and see progress, both as the femtie and the femtor. And more importantly, ladies, young women who perhaps do not have the benefit of being able to listen to sessions like this, they don't know that help is available out there. So in your communities, if you know of young girls who would benefit from having a mentor, please sign them up. Because what I found in our program this year is that we had more women saying, I want to mentor, than girls who were coming to say, please mentor me. So there seems to be a gap with our young people. And I think it's a combination of them not having access to the things that we have access to. And that's what mentorship is about. We're saying older women, we are working, we can have data, Wi-Fi, and all these nice things. We have access to Bo Pastor Joy and Bo Sister K, but the younger ones might be missing out. So please do encourage them to join and lead them so that they can find help when they need it. Yes, Pastor Joy, you wanted to say something.
Yes, I just wanted to add, especially on the gap that you are seeing, that there's more mentors than mentees, that sometimes those young girls don't even know that they need mentoring.
Yes.
Their need may be expressed in them admiring our dress code, our fashion sense, because there's always going to be something that draws a young girl to an older woman. So how we must interpret that, it is that expression, the desire to want to be mentored. The best they can say it is like, you look nice, or your shoe game is hot, or something like that. So we must listen and hear intelligently.
So true. Absolutely true what you're saying, Pastor Joy. I also found that with the girls I mentored, that sometimes as older women, they see us as unrelatable, because when they see you and you are all made up and you are dressed lovely, you look like you never went through the challenges and the struggles that they go through. And it is only once that relationship is established that they find out, Luena, you didn't know how to deal with boys. How, Luena, you made mistakes. How, Luena, you failed math at school. But when they just see you, you're like, oh, unrelatable. I couldn't even talk to this person. But once you get to their level and converse with them, then they see, oh, okay. So it's not just me, and I can actually learn from you. You've also been through that. So yeah, ladies, please, let's be intentional about getting our young ones into the fold, as well as we're talking about sisterhood, making sure that they also belong and they are getting the help that they need. So our time is up, unfortunately. So Pastor Joy, I cannot thank you enough for availing yourself, and may God bless you in your ministry and all that you are doing, and may Undistracted just reach good heights. May it open opportunities that you never even thought of, because our God is abundance, most exceedingly abundantly above anything that you ever thought or dreamt of. May it just be that, and may God bless you and strengthen you as you continue serving your generation. We love you and appreciate you so much. Thank you for joining us.
Amen. I receive the blessing, and thank you for everyone that is connected.
Yes, thank you to all of you who are joining with us today, and thank you to all of you who will also listen in later on we know there's load shedding. Some of you maybe were not able to connect because of that or other engagements that you have, but thank you so much. We appreciate you, and just look out on the feed. I'll be sharing Pastor Joy's contact details if you want to get a copy of her book, and also my website if you want to get involved in the Sister K Foundation. A very good evening to you all, ladies. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.